There's everything to learn from the California fires, and it's not about fires. And it's not just about California. It's about your country. This doesn't just affect even California or your state within America. It affects you if you're in Europe and Canada. And if you have leftists in charge, the way many of us do, this is civilizational collapse. Welcome to the Doug TenNapel channel. This is where the happy patriots are. Even as our Western civilization is crumbling, if not already in ruin, I thought I'd check in with Victor Davis Hanson, my favorite Californian and the most brilliant historian in the world.
You've all heard about the disastrous fire in Los Angeles. As I'm speaking on, there's been 15,000 acres, 1,000 structures destroyed. Nobody knows how many people are killed or missing. And how do we characterize this? Everybody's talking about the Santa Ana winds, climate change. I mean everybody, the people in power. But it was preventable. Once it started, this fire, it could have been assuaged. You could have had it lessened. The severity didn't have to be as catastrophic.
People in power blame the environment. They're blaming weather. Weather has always been here. It is not the key problem. It's man's ability to assuage or mitigate that weather with what he does. So LA is purely doing a cover-up. California is purely doing a cover-up going, there's nothing you can do about these 100-mile-an-hour winds. There's a lot you could have done. Like I said, this is not just in California, because as California goes, so goes the rest of the country. And as America goes, so goes the rest of the world. Because this ideology is like a spore. It has spread out its spores. It goes through universities, online media, through our culture, through entertainment, and in urban centers. So I live in Tennessee. LA ideas are spread right now in Memphis, Tennessee, and Nashville, Tennessee. I live here in Franklin, Tennessee. A few years ago, they greenlit a pride parade here in Franklin, Tennessee. That's California spores over here. My daughter went to Lipscomb University. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I got shocked to get an email from Lipscomb University. This is a Church of Christ conservative college. Pat Boone built their arts department. Conservative Church of Christ. They announced years ago that they were hiring their first diversity, equity, and inclusion head, their department. That is, they opened it up and I go, I'm in Tennessee. This is California coming to Tennessee.
So I would characterize it as a DEI, Green New Deal, hydrogen bomb. It's something out of Dante's Inferno. What I mean by that is it's a systems breakdown, a civilizational collapse. When you look at the people in charge, Gavin Newsom flew in to sort of do these performance art stunts. But he has systematically ensured that water out of the Sacramento River and the watershed of Northern California would go out to the sea rather than into the aqueduct. So Los Angeles didn't have sufficient amounts of water. He bragged not very long ago that he blew up 4 dams on the Klamath River. They provided 80,000 homes with clean hydroelectric power. They offered recreation, flood control, irrigation. He blew them up. California's fire management, whether we look at the Paradise Fire or the Aspen Fire near where I'm speaking, it destroyed 60 million trees. We have no timber industry in California. He's dismantled it.
He's also dismantled farming. I'm from the San Joaquin Valley. Right around Denair is my hometown. It's right next to Turlock, right next to Modesto, right next to Sacramento, the capital. Victor Davis Hanson is down by Selma and Fresno, so in the same San Joaquin Valley area. And almond farmers and all these, that used to be this breadbasket, all these farmers, well, then they started constraining their water rights to try to protect the endangered species, the Delta smelt. Now, this is an environmental policy that puts a little tiny fish above millions of people's lives, including farming, where a whole huge percentage of America gets their produce from the San Joaquin Valley in California. It's systematic. It's deliberate. It's long time. This is the tail end. This is a lagging indicator what you're seeing in the fires in LA. Like I said, this is not to do with fires. This is about America having a mind virus, a woke Democrat mind virus being dispersed to all of our states. And as California goes, that ruin, and California is ruined, and it's not going to get rebuilt because the same dummies who ruined it are in charge of the rebuild. Unless Trump does something where we can remove these heads or recall these heads, it is not going to get fixed. It's the same DEI kind of industrial complex, woke complex that is going to go in, and there's no way they can rebuild that many homes. They can't even find that much lumber.
We don't clean the forest. We don't let loggers come in and have a viable livelihood by harvesting trees. It's sort of considered natural to let these things burn, or to at least create the conditions in which they will inevitably burn. It's almost as we don't like humans. We worry about grubs and worms and birds and the ecosystem. Second breakdown was the mayor, Karen Bass, was in Africa. You tell me why the mayor of the third largest city in the United States at fire season, when she had been warned and warned for days on end that the Santa Ana winds were up to 100 miles an hour in the evening, and there was a danger of fire, and she goes off to Africa for the inauguration of the president of Ghana? Who, with all due respect, Mayor Bob, who cares? You have an obligation to the 6 million people of greater Los Angeles.
Oh, she doesn't care about the people of Los Angeles. The mayor of LA, she's a citizen of the world, globalist of the world. She's out in Ghana celebrating. By the way, these fires aren't new. They just had a giant burst of fires 4 weeks ago in California. It's been on fire constantly for 4 years. They've known about it, and they got warned about high winds. And suddenly they're going, oops, we didn't know we would need this much water. This is the richest place in the world, and they don't have adequate water to be pumped. This is the kind of just the environmentalist and the liberal mindset when they don't have any political challenges. They don't have to be strong. They don't have to be smart. Liberals can be stupid, fat, and lazy in California, and you'll just keep getting reelected. No one will challenge you, and it starts producing these terrible, disastrous results. They get more and more exaggerated.
And then we have the fire chief. I don't really care that she's LGBTQ. I don't care any of that. All I do care is her emphases. She's been bragging for the last 2 years that her goal was to make sure it was diverse and inclusive. That can be good if it's competent, but when you announce that 70% of your hiring will not be meritocratic, but will be based on diversity, equity, inclusion, then you're not putting the interest of your constituents first. There wasn't enough water pressure in Pacific Palisades. Pacific Palisades is not where I live. It's one of the wealthiest, most exclusive neighborhoods in the United States. If they don't have water, then no one's going to get water, believe me. There's not enough insurance. There were famous actors that didn't have insurance. Why? Because this industry is overregulated. It's fraught with people who make fraudulent claims. And the insurance industry knows that California is hostile to it, but more importantly, that it will never clean up its forest or take preventive, time-tried, ancient protocols to lessen the dangers of fire.
Insurance just simply left California. They know it's crazy. So liberals, right, they ruin everything, and they just rename it. So it used to be Marxism, and they go, oh, Marxism, we failed. Then they go, oh, it's socialism. Then socialism failed. Then they go, it's liberalism. Then liberalism failed. High body count, total infrastructure. Then they go, oh, now it's progressivism. So all they do to mask their failures is they just rename it something else. Progressivism became DEI. And they're just going to keep changing the name after their failures, but it's the same anti-human, bureaucratic elitism with failed policies. They fail. Over environmentalism, their environmentalism and their Green New Deal stuff, it fails. Their DEI fails. What they pay for, sending money to Ukraine, instead of to building aqueducts. It fails building their green light rail that they can't even finish in California, and it's billions of dollars in debt. It fails. They're just going to rename it and move on because no one is going to check their power.
And so put it all together, whether it's a deliberate policy to not store water, not preserve water. Last year was one of the wettest years that we've had. We've had 3 out of the last 4 years have been very, very wet. We had a huge snowpack. We had rivers that were running in 19th century fashion, but out to the sea to save the Delta smelt. So it was a total systems collapse from the idea of not spending money on irrigation, storage, water, fire prevention, and forest management, a viable insurance industry, a DEI hierarchy. You put it all together, and it's something like a DEI Green New Deal hydrogen bomb.
And California blew up. Now, my concern is these policies are going out to other states through our urban centers. Our urban centers almost all vote liberal and vote blue. That is, they're packed with Democrats. Many of them are packed with even California Democrats that move to our states. So it does affect us right here in Tennessee. And you can see culturally the woke policy come out in schools. We have Vanderbilt here, and therefore doing the trans surgeries. And we had to fight them, at the state level over masking mandates and all that. You'll see it in the cities, even in very conservative type states. So look for it in culture. But if we don't fight this, fight feminism, fight the woke culture, fight liberalism, fight diversity claims, fight relativism, it's all going to go the way of California because their actions destroy cultures. It destroys civilization. It even destroys the environment that they claim to protect.
Gavin Newsom was fiddling. He's almost Nero Newsom. And this has been something that is just unimaginable, this systems breakdown. And to finish, what we're seeing in California is a state with 40 million people. And yet the people who run it feel that it should return to a 19th century pastoral condition. They are de-civilizing the state and de-industrializing the state and de-farming the state. But they're not telling the 40 million people that their lifestyles will have to revert back to the 19th century when you had no protection from fire, you didn't have enough water in California, you didn't have enough power, you didn't pump oil. So we are deliberately making these decisions not to develop energy, not to develop a timber industry, not to protect the insurance industry, not to protect houses and property. And we're doing it in almost a purely nihilistic fashion.
That's their only ideology, is nihilism in the end. It is self-destruction. But they see it as a natural state. You remove farming and agriculture and all these busy cities. The environmentalists don't want to rebuild those houses. They want the population to decrease. They love hearing when people leave California and go to other states. They see these numbers draining out of California. They're like, good, it's all the middle class. Get rid of them. We only need our super rich Silicon Valley and Hollywood, and we need a lower class of servants and illegals to mow our yards and work at McDonald's. That's all they need. It's not a threat to them that a huge chunk of California just burned down. Greenies, environmentalists that despise people and worship Mother Gaia and the earth and nature, they think this is a natural, normal, good thing to happen.
I don't want to be too pessimistic or bleak tonight, but this is one of the most alarming symptoms of a society gone mad. And if this continues, and if this were to spread to other states, we would become a third world country if we're not in parts already.
And that's the warning I want to end on. It's moving to other states, I believe, and we will become a third world country. Beautiful California, my favorite state in the world, is going to crumble because they're not going to reform and change their ideology. Ideas have consequences. And I'm looking to see if California changes any of its ideas or votes. Adam Carolla predicted that Democrats are going to start losing elections over there. I don't know if they're capable of learning because it's a religion. It's like your religion just accidentally destroyed a bunch of people, and it doesn't mean that you change your religion. You might defend it. You might just turn a blind eye to it. California has no formal, traditional Christian religion. They've replaced it with earth worshiping, nature worshiping, paganism, feminism, and environmentalism. And I don't know if they're so quick to repent and change to the one true religion. I'm Doug in Exile.